The American cheese aisle is a confidence game, and it starts the moment you reach for a familiar logo. Most people eat cheese every week, on burgers, in sandwiches, melted over casseroles, shredded into quesadillas. The orange slices on millions of burgers are so familiar that grabbing them feels like grabbing something simple, something you already understand. But here is what the package design is counting on you not noticing. The slices on your burger may not actually belong to the same product category as the cheese sitting on a charcuterie board, and the difference is not a matter of opinion or snobbery. It is a matter of federal classification. I spent 3 weeks pulling ingredient lists, recall records, and regulatory filings on every major cheese brand in the supermarket. 7 brands are selling you something fundamentally different from what the packaging suggests. 3 are still making actual cheese, and 1 costs under $4. I am starting with the brand that represents a premium reputation that should not exist, and I am ending with the one that proves the entire system has been backwards the whole time. Number 7. Sargento Processed Cheese Snacks. Sargento has built an entire brand identity on quality. The packaging design is intentional about this. Real cheese, natural, premium supermarket placement. When you see Sargento sitting next to the budget brands, the visual distance is meant to register as quality distance. So here is what the brand is counting on. That reputation flows across every product they touch. You see the Sargento logo, and your brain finishes the sentence before you read the label. This must be real cheese. That works for their natural cheese lines. Their aged cheddars are legitimate. Their shredded block cheeses are genuinely made from milk curd. But Sargento also makes a line of processed cheese snacks. And the moment you flip the package over, the ingredient list stops matching the brand promise on the front. Modified milk ingredients, milk fat, salt, enzymes. That part is normal. But then, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, natamycin, and a list of other dairy and processing ingredients that do not appear in their traditional cheese products. These products are not manufactured the way their aged cheddar is manufactured. They are engineered in a completely different process for a completely different purpose. Melting consistency, shelf stability, texture uniformity across every package. The brand reputation does not equal every SKU identical. And that is the lesson here. A company can make genuinely good cheese and also make something that is not cheese at all under the same logo. Most shoppers will never flip the Sargento package over because they already trust the name. That trust is not necessarily misplaced on their cheese blocks, but it is absolutely being leveraged on their processed products. Premium branding creates a halo effect, and the halo is bigger than the product category deserves. Number 6. Great value American singles. Budget-conscious families reach for this tub without hesitation. Walmart's price is the entire value proposition, and there is nothing inherently wrong with affordable food. Affordable is necessary. The issue is what affordability actually represents in this product, and whether the label tells you the truth about it. Flip the Great Value American Singles package. Cultured milk, milk fat, whey, salt. That part sounds legitimate. Then, modified food starch, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, artificial color, carob bean gum, locust bean gum, potassium sorbate. Count the stabilizers. 5 separate additives thickening, binding, and emulsifying a product that should be held together by its own cheese structure. Here is what that ingredient list is actually telling you. The milk going into this product is not good enough to create the texture consumers expect on its own. So instead of spending money on better milk, the manufacturer spends money on chemistry to fake the texture that quality milk would have created naturally. You are not paying less for cheese. You are paying less for industrial simulation of cheese. The price is lower because the base ingredient is weaker. And there is a second issue here worth understanding specifically. Mono and diglycerides. They show up in the American Singles line, and they deserve a direct explanation. Mono and diglycerides are processed fats used as emulsifiers to bind water and oil together in products that would otherwise separate. The Environmental Working Group has flagged them for potentially contributing trace amounts of artificial trans fats. The FDA officially banned artificial trans fats from the food supply in 2018 because of their documented connection to heart disease. But mono and diglycerides sit in a regulatory gray area. They are classified as emulsifiers rather than fats, so they are not subject to the same restrictions. That technical distinction means the product remains legal. it does not mean the cardiovascular risk disappears. Great Value makes no commitment to avoiding ARBST growth hormones in its milk supply. ARBST is a synthetic hormone that boosts milk production. It is banned in Canada, the European Union, Australia, and Japan, but it remains permitted in the United States. Without a stated pledge on the label, there is no way to know whether the milk in your package came from cows treated with it. The American Cancer Society has noted that milk from RBS-treated cows contains higher levels of IGF-1, a growth factor that some research has associated with increased cancer risk. The research is ongoing, but the ingredient question remains unanswered because the label does not tell you. But the most serious issue with Great Value is not the ingredient list. In 2026, Saputo, the Canadian dairy company that manufactures Great Value cottage cheese for Walmart, issued a recall after the California Department of Food and Agriculture discovered that dairy ingredients may not have been properly pasteurized. Pasteurization exists specifically to destroy harmful bacteria that cause foodborne illness. Getting it wrong puts the most vulnerable consumers at direct risk: pregnant women, elderly people, anyone with a compromised immune system. Walmart sells more groceries than any other retailer in America. Millions of families buy Great Value without ever reading the back of the package. When that level of trust meets a pasteurization failure, the stakes are not abstract. Number 5. Borden American Singles. Borden is nostalgia. If you grew up in the 1980s or 1990s, you probably opened your lunchbox and found Borden cheese slices. The branding tapped directly into childhood memory. Borden made dairy products. Borden was trust. That heritage is real. The company was founded in 1857. It genuinely is one of the oldest dairy brands in America, and that history has translated into a loyalty that persists even though most shoppers have no idea what actually changed inside the package. Flip the Borden American Singles box. Cultured milk, milk fat, milk protein concentrate, salt, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, enzymes, and artificial color. Artificial color in cheese slices. Actual cheese does not need to be dyed. Cheese is naturally yellow or white depending on the source. The only reason to add artificial coloring is when the product no longer looks like cheese on its own. That single detail is worth understanding. When manufacturing has stripped enough from the dairy that you need dye to make it look normal again, you are no longer making cheese. You are engineering the appearance of cheese. And here is the regulatory reality. American cheese slices like Borden's are legally classified as a processed cheese product, not traditional cheese. Federal regulations permit them to contain optional dairy ingredients, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and colorants, as long as they carry that classification. Borden's marketing does not emphasize that classification. The packaging does not scream it at you. The heritage branding and the familiar logo create an assumption that this is traditional cheese, a simpler version of what their company has been making since 1857. It is not. Nostalgia creates trust, and trust is being leveraged on products that are completely different from what the branding suggests they should be. Number 4. Cheese Whiz. Cheese Whiz is the moment the product category becomes undeniable. With Kraft Singles and Borden, you can at least argue that the product is sliced into a recognizable cheese format. With Cheese Whiz, there is no ambiguity. You are holding a jar of bright orange spread. The product does not pretend to be traditional cheese. It is engineered around a completely different purpose, and that is actually the fairest thing that can be said about this product. Cheese Whiz does not pretend. It tells you exactly what it is designed to do. Flip the jar. Weigh: vegetable oil, milk fat, milk solids, salt, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, artificial color, potassium sorbate, enzymes. The base is dairy, but the formulation is built around pourability, consistency, shelf stability. An aged cheddar cannot perform the same way on nachos or crackers. An aged cheddar cannot stay spreadable for years inside a jar. So Cheese Whiz solves a real problem. It is optimized for a specific use case. And when a product is honest about its engineering, that is worth acknowledging. The issue is not that Cheese Whiz exists. The issue is that it shares shelf space with products that hide the same level of processing behind heritage branding and cheese-adjacent imagery. Cheese Whiz at least announces what it is doing. But understand this. The ingredients doing the work in Cheese Whiz, the sodium phosphate, the soy lecithin, the artificial color, are not there for your benefit. They are there because they are cheaper than the alternative. Keeping real cheese smooth and shelf-stable through engineering costs less than sourcing the quality dairy and aging process that would produce a natural cheese product. That is the entire system. Every ingredient on that list is a cost-saving measure that the manufacturer is allowing you to consume instead of paying for better ingredients. Number 3. Easy cheese. Easy cheese represents the strongest contradiction between expectation and reality on this entire list. The spray can format is iconic. Generations of people have squirted easy cheese directly into their mouths or onto crackers. The product has become so culturally embedded that reaching for it feels like reaching for cheese in a different container. That is exactly what the marketing is built to suggest. Same cheese, different delivery method, just more convenient. Flip the can over and read the ingredient list on the side. Whey, vegetable oil, milk fat, milk solids, salt, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, sodium alginate, artificial color, potassium sorbate, enzymes. Easy cheese is classified as a processed cheese spread, not cheese. It is engineered entirely around shelf stability, texture control, and the mechanical function of dispensing from a pressurized container. Real cheese cannot come out of a spray can the same way every single time. The consistency has to be engineered. The breakdown of fats and proteins has to be controlled at a molecular level so that the product remains uniform across every use and every storage condition. That engineering requires chemicals that do not appear in traditional cheese. Sodium alginate is a thickening agent extracted from brown seaweed. It is FDA approved and considered safe, but it is not something any cheesemonger has ever added to aged cheddar. And here is what matters about easy cheese sitting at number 3. The technology behind convenience changes the product itself. You are not getting cheese in a spray can. You are getting a processed dairy product engineered to behave like cheese when it exits a pressurized container. That is a meaningful difference, and most people buying easy cheese have never flipped it over to understand what is actually inside. Number 2. Velveeta. Velveeta is the most important processed cheese product on this entire list because it is the one that perfected the category. Velveeta is classified as a pasteurized prepared cheese product, not cheese, not even processed cheese, which is a different regulatory category. Pasteurized prepared cheese product. The formulation includes milk ingredients, whey protein concentrate, milk fat, salt, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, and other dairy ingredients. It is genuine dairy at the base, but the processing is so extensive that the final product no longer qualifies as cheese under federal standards. And here is what makes Velveeta interesting. The brand actually succeeded because it solved a problem that traditional cheese could not solve. Traditional cheese does not melt consistently. It does not create a smooth sauce when you add liquid. It does not store indefinitely without separating or breaking. Velveeta was engineered to do all of those things. The emulsification process, the texture consistency, the ability to reheat and remain stable. These are real advantages over traditional cheese for specific purposes. Making mac and cheese, creating a smooth cheese dip, building a consistent sauce for nachos. The product succeeded because it actually performs better at those jobs than real cheese does. That is the fairness moment. Velveeta is not trying to fool anyone. It is not using heritage branding and farm imagery to suggest it is something it is not. It is a processed cheese product that is genuinely good at being a processed cheese product. But understand why that matters. The ingredient list in Velveeta exists because of performance requirements, not because of cost cutting. That is one of the only products on this countdown where that distinction is actually true, and that is why Velveeta lands at number 2 instead of number 1. It represents the honest version of what all these other brands are doing. Velveeta tells you what it is. The brands above it hide the same processing behind marketing language and heritage logos. Number 1. Kraft Singles. Kraft Singles represents the biggest gap between consumer assumption and product classification in the entire American cheese market. This is the most recognizable cheese product in the country. It is on millions of burgers every single day. It is in school lunches. It is what millions of people reach for when they think about cheese slices. And here is the regulatory reality. Kraft Singles are classified as a pasteurized prepared cheese product, not cheese. The same classification as Velveeta. Flip the package. Milk ingredients, milk fat, whey, salt, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, soy lecithin, enzymes, and in some varieties, artificial color. The base is dairy, but the formulation is completely reconstructed around texture, melting consistency, and shelf stability. The cheese you think you are buying and the cheese that is actually in the wrapper are not the same product category. And the reason this lands at number 1 is not because it is the worst cheese product on the shelf. It is because it represents the most aggressive use of brand familiarity to obscure what the product actually is. Kraft has been making these slices since 1950. Generations of Americans have grown up with them. The brand is so deeply embedded in consumer consciousness that reaching for Kraft singles feels like reaching for something you already understand completely. You do not need to check the label because you already know what you are buying. Except you do not. Most people have never flipped that wrapper over and read the ingredient list. Most people have never looked at the federal classification. Most people have never understood that the orange slice on their burger is not traditional cheese and never has been. And that gap between assumption and reality is exactly why Kraft singles occupy the number 1 position on this list. The product is not dangerous. It is not a scandal. It is not evidence of some conspiracy. It is legal. It is affordable. It performs its function, but the marketing operates entirely in the space between what consumers think they are buying and what is actually in the package. And that space is where the margin exists. Here is the mechanism that explains everything on this countdown. Real cheese requires good milk. Good milk costs money. Real aged cheese requires time. Time costs money. Those are the 2 major expenses in making actual cheese. So instead, many manufacturers start with cheaper milk and rebuild everything in a factory after the purchase. Emulsifiers go in to create smoothness. Stabilizers go in to control texture. Artificial color goes in when the product no longer looks like cheese on its own. And here is the part that should matter to you. Every single ingredient added to these products exists because the manufacturer chose cheaper milk over better cheese. You are not paying for food. You are paying for the manufacturing cost of disguising inferior ingredients as a premium product. That is what ends the countdown at number 1. Now that you understand what the system is actually doing, here are the 3 cheese brands that refuse to participate in it. These are not premium brands hiding behind heritage marketing. They are not using 5 stabilizers to fake a texture that real cheese would have created naturally. They are not adding artificial color because the base ingredient stopped looking like cheese. They are making cheese the way cheese has been made when it is made correctly. Real milk, real cream, real fermentation. Nothing added to fake what those things naturally produce. Better pick number 4, Organic Valley. Organic Valley exists in the market because a group of dairy farmers decided to stop selling to commodity milk buyers and start making their own products. The brand is a cooperative. That means the farmers own it. They are not answering to a conglomerate that is pressuring them to cut corners and lower costs. They are answering to themselves. Flip the Organic Valley American cheese slices package. Organic pasteurized milk, organic cream, salt, enzymes, annatto. That is the complete ingredient list. Annatto is a natural coloring agent extracted from seeds. It is FDA approved, and it is the only additive besides salt and enzymes on the entire package. Organic Valley is using it to create the natural yellow color that real cheese should have without needing artificial dyes. The protein content is solid, around 7 grams per slice depending on the variety. All of it coming from real milk curd, not from whey protein concentrate powder added to inflate a front panel number. The price sits in the mid to premium range. You will pay more than great value. You will pay less than some of the boutique options. But every cent above the budget brands is traceable. It is paying for the milk quality and the decision to not use stabilizers. Organic Valley also commits to avoiding ARBs growth hormones. The milk comes from farms that have made that choice at the production level. You will see that commitment on the label. It is not hidden in fine print. The brand is willing to tell you because it is actually true. The reason Organic Valley lands at number 4 instead of higher is straightforward. It is not as widely available as some other options. Regional distribution is stronger in some areas than others, and the organic certification adds cost that does not change what the product actually is, which is real cheese made from real milk. But if your store carries it, this is the moment your reach and grab decision should start changing. Real cheese, no stabilizers, no artificial color. A brand actually built on the principle of not cutting corners. Better pick number 3, Kerrygold. Kerrygold is a European-style cheese that has built its reputation on a very specific commitment. The company uses milk from grass-fed cows. That is not marketing language. It is a production standard. The cows graze on pasture year-round when possible. The milk reflects that diet. The flavor is different. The composition of the milk is different. Flip a package of Kerrygold cheddar slices. Pasteurized milk, salt, enzymes, lipase. Lipase is an enzyme that creates tang. It is not a stabilizer. It is not an emulsifier. It is a functional ingredient that contributes flavor to the finished cheese. That is completely different from the stabilizer lists on the products in the first half of this video. Kerrygold maintains strict standards about what goes into their milk supply. No routine antibiotics. The cows are grass-fed. The milk is pasteurized, but not ultra-pasteurized, which means the fermentation process works with milk that still contains more natural enzymes and bacteria. The result is a cheese that tastes noticeably different from industrial cheese slices, more complex, more distinctive. The flavor profile is stronger because the milk is stronger. The price reflects this. A package of Kerrygold will cost you more than Kraft singles, significantly more in most cases. You are paying for grass-fed milk. You are paying for the simplicity of the ingredient list. You are paying for the fact that this cheese actually has a flavor. Kerrygold lands at number 3 because it represents a very specific choice. If you care about what the cows eat, if you value the flavor complexity that comes from grass-fed milk, if you are willing to pay a premium for cheese that actually tastes like cheese, this is your option. But it is not a practical replacement for everyone. The price barrier is real. The flavor profile is distinctive enough that it is not a direct swap for American cheese slices on a burger. It is a choice you make when the sourcing and the taste matter more than the convenience factor. Better pick number 2, Cabot. Cabot is a dairy cooperative founded in 1919 in Vermont. The farmers who supply the milk are members of the cooperative. That ownership structure creates a very different incentive system than a publicly traded company that answers to shareholders pressuring for higher margins. Flip the Cabot cheddar package. Pasteurized milk, salt, lipase, enzymes. 4 ingredients. That is it. Lipase creates the sharp tang that makes aged cheddar distinctive. It is not a processing agent. It is a flavor ingredient. The milk is pasteurized, but not stripped of its natural character the way ultra-pasteurized milk is treated. Cabot makes multiple varieties of cheese. Aged cheddar, medium cheddar, mild cheddar. Each one delivers a different flavor profile depending on how long it has been aged and how much lipase has been used to develop the tang. And here is what matters about Cabot. The protein content varies by product because it is a natural product. It is not standardized to hit a specific number on the front panel. An aged cheddar will have different nutritional composition than a mild cheddar because they are actually different products, not the same base reformulated for different markets. The price is moderate to premium, less expensive than Kerrygold, more expensive than Kraft singles, but the price difference reflects real milk quality and real aging, not marketing and distribution overhead. Cabot specializes in cheddar. That is what they do. They do not make American cheese slices. They do not try to compete on convenience. They make sharp, flavorful aged cheese that requires time and good milk. Cabot lands at number 2 because it represents the most accessible premium option for shoppers who want to graduate from industrial cheese to real cheese without paying Kerrygold prices or dealing with specialty distribution channels. It is widely available in most supermarkets. The flavor is noticeably better than industrial cheese. The ingredient list is radically simpler, and the price, while higher than budget brands, is not so high that it stops being a practical everyday purchase. If you are standing in the cheese aisle and you want to make a single change from the brands on the avoid list, Cabot is the easiest way to do it. Better pick number 1, Tillamook. Tillamook is the strongest overall answer to this entire investigation because it solves the actual problem without asking you to make any additional trade-offs. Tillamook is a dairy cooperative based in Oregon. The The farmers in the cooperative own it. The milk comes from their herds. That ownership structure has persisted since 1909. Flip the Tillamook cheddar package. Grade A pasteurized milk, salt, lipase, enzymes. 4 ingredients. Period. The flavor profile is sharp and complex. The texture is firm. The cheese is aged. Real milk created the structure. Real fermentation created the flavor. No stabilizers, no emulsifiers, no artificial color, no compromise. And here is what makes Tillamook #1. It is also one of the most affordable options on the shelf. Sit with that for a second. The most honest cheese available. The shortest ingredient list. No industrial additives, no processing chemicals, no genetic modification. Just milk, salt, lipase, and enzymes doing what they have done for centuries. Is also one of the least expensive options you can buy. Most shoppers assume that if something costs less, it must have cut corners somewhere. The cheaper cheese must be worse. The premium cheese must be better because it costs more. That assumption is how the entire system on the avoid list works. It relies on you believing that price and quality are always connected. Tillamook proves that assumption wrong. Every dollar you spent above Tillamook's price on Kraft Singles or Borden or Great Value was not buying you better cheese. It was buying you more ingredients. And every single one of those extra ingredients existed because the manufacturers chose to use cheaper milk and disguise it with chemistry. Tillamook costs less because they do not have to pay for all of that engineering and marketing. They do not have to add 5 stabilizers because the milk is good enough to hold together on its own. They do not have to add artificial color because real aged cheese is naturally yellow. The brands that cost more than Tillamook are the ones with the most to hide. They are paying for the cost of disguising inferior ingredients as a premium product. That is the entire system inverted. The product built on the fewest ingredients costs the least. The products built on the most ingredients charge the most. Not because quality is higher, but because producing the illusion of quality costs more than producing the actual thing. Tillamook is available in virtually every supermarket in America. The flavor is bold and distinctive. The ingredient list is transparent, and the price makes it a practical everyday purchase, not a premium splurge. This is the #1 choice, because it proves that you do not have to compromise on anything to get real cheese. Not price, not availability, not convenience, nothing. You just have to flip the package over and read what is actually in it. Here is where all of this lands. 7 brands: Kraft Singles, Borden, Cheese Whiz, Easy Cheese, Velveeta, Great Value, and Sargento are selling you reconstructed approximations of cheese using ingredients that have no place in a product this simple. The heritage logos, the farm imagery, the premium supermarket placement, the childhood nostalgia, the word natural on the front. None of it tells you what is actually inside the package. The ingredient lists do. The recall records do. The regulatory classifications do. The federal standard of identity for cheese permits all of these additives, which means the marketing does not have to mention them. That is the system. 3 brands, Tillamook, Cabot, and Kerrygold, are making cheese the way it has been made when it is made correctly. Real milk, real cream, real aging when appropriate. Nothing added to fake what those things naturally produce. And here is a simple test you can do the next time you are standing in the cheese aisle. 30 seconds. No chemistry background needed. Flip the package and read the first 4 ingredients. You are looking for milk, cream, salt, and enzymes in any combination and any order. The moment you see sodium phosphate, stabilizers, modified food starch, whey protein concentrate, or artificial color anywhere in those first 4 lines, you already have your answer. That product is not being built on the milk quality. It is being built on the chemistry that comes after. Second check. Look at the complete ingredient list. If it is longer than 5 or 6 lines, ask yourself why. Real cheese should not need 10 ingredients to be cheese. The extra lines exist to compensate for something that the base milk could not deliver on its own. Third check. Look at the price. If it costs more than Tillamook, understand that you are paying for marketing, distribution, heritage branding, and the manufacturing cost of producing the illusion. Not for better cheese. These 3 checks take 30 seconds, and they will tell you everything you need to know about whether what you are holding is actual cheese or an industrial reconstruction designed to look like cheese. Tonight, go to your fridge. Pull out whatever cheese slices you bought last time. Flip the package over. Read the first 4 ingredients. If you find sodium phosphate and stabilizers in something that should contain salt and milk, now you know exactly why they are there. who they benefit, and which 3 brands to reach for instead. The label has always been there. Now you know what you are actually looking at. If this changed how you are going to shop next time, share it with someone who is still reaching for the Kraft singles without flipping the package over. The only thing separating you from a better cheese is the willingness to spend 30 seconds reading the back of the wrapper instead of trusting the front. The marketing can only work if you do not check. The moment you check, the entire system falls apart.